Hiya! Welcome! So we've come to the end of this weekly run in October of Minidisc Monday. We go back to business as usual with random albums, random artists on MD in 2 weeks' time. But I'm glad you're here with me for the last instalment of the Lightning Seeds month portion of Minidisc Monday. And of course, I'm looking at the one last Lightning Seeds album I have on Minidisc, the final one that came out on the format from Ian Browdy and Co. It came out in 1999 and its name is Tilt. So an album that flopped basically. The singles, there were 2 singles on it, one got top 30, the other one missed the top 40 altogether, and the album itself I think got to number 40 something, compared to how Like You Do, which we looked at a week ago, the greatest hits of the Lightning Seeds for all intents and purposes. That got to number 5 and was a big seller, a very popular album of the time. 2 years later, their comeback, if you will, first studio album since Dizzy Heights in '96, and it was kind of a damp squib for everyone really, but we'll talk about what's on it after I show you all the goodies, well, the 2 goodies, the disc and the booklet. This is one of my cases that is knackered. You know, it fits together fine and it displays okay. I can replace these cases. I've talked about this before in previous editions of Minidisc Monday. I can source newer cases if I want to, and I will do probably at one point one day, just something I've never got round to so far. So Lightning Seeds Tilt, artwork on the front and on the back, usual drill with the tracks and the copyright stuff. As for the booklet, you don't get much, that's all you get. No lyrics, bland page of production notes, couple of tiny photos, and a bit of additional artwork, but yeah, it's kind of a lazy proposition really. Certainly from the Minidisc format, I couldn't tell you about the CD format. I never owned this album on CD. I know it's had a vinyl issue again this year, but I don't double up on the Lightning Seeds, so just the album on Minidisc is good enough for me. So this came out in 1999, missed the top 40 album chart. Track 1, Life's Too Short, the lead single. Decent single, to be fair, and it did fine. It got number 20 something, I think. Good start. Track 2 is Sweetest Soul Sensations. Obviously, certainly at the beginning, the intro, it's got a very kind of 70s soul sort of sound to it, and then it goes into sort of almost like an indie pop song with very slight reggae undertones, and it does work. I do like it. Track 3, If Only, yeah, you'll kind of get that reaction from me throughout most of this. It's listenable, but it just feels like Browdy's past his best really, and he's kind of going through the motions mostly with this album. Number 4, City Bright Stars. 5, I Wish I Was in Love. 6, Happy Satellite. All these are perfectly fine, but there's nothing that's like jumping out at me. I did listen to this album right before I came on to film this, and it hasn't really stuck with me very well, and that's the trouble. Track 7, Get It Right, which I believe was co-produced with Tim Simonon from Bomb the Bass. Perhaps if he'd had a hand in more of the album, it might be more memorable, because it was a good track, that. But even then, this album is certainly not up there really with the Lightning Seeds' best work. Number 8, Cigarettes and Lies, kind of a ballad, very acoustic led, wasn't overly keen. Number 9, Crowd Pleaser, that was an improvement, certainly, decent track. Track 10, Tales of the Riverbank, very twee sounding title, and I think the song itself and the lyrical content wasn't much less kind of simpering almost. Track 11's a bit of a strange one, a sort of brief instrumental, Pussyfoot Reprise at 1 minute 40. We've got all the times of the tracks on here, by the way. Kind of unnecessary, didn't need to be there. It's just filling time really, and not even a lot of it under 2 minutes. And it ends with a decent ending, All the Things. So that is a Lightning Seeds Tilt for you.
Anticipate
It's an average album that. I can't give it a massive recommendation. I would say go and get it if you're a Lightning Seeds completist, which I am. Well, I'm trying to be. The thing is, Tilt was their last album for about 7 years, I think. And then Browdy, he did some work under his actual name, like solo albums, even though Lightning Seeds is really a solo project anyway. But he came back in 2006 with 4 Winds, and that's the one Lightning Seeds album that I don't own and I've never listened to. I ought to listen to it because I know I could access it easy enough elsewhere, but because it's only ever come out on CD, it's not had a vinyl issue, and Minidisc was not a thing for pre-recorded media by that point, then I don't own it. So I'm holding out for a reissue on vinyl of 4 Winds at some point, but who knows, I might just end up getting the CD at some point, and then I'll have every Lightning Seeds album physically. Going back to Tilt, it's, I would say, out of all the ones I've heard, and as I say, I've heard every one except 4 Winds, it's probably the weakest. There's some good moments on it. The 2 singles are pretty good, but even then, they're not elite tier. It's all a bit tired and samey by this point. They've been going for, what, more than 10 years by this point, and certainly having success since 1989 in their first album. It's a kind of damp squib, as I alluded to at the start of this video. So that wraps up Lightning Seeds month for Minidisc Monday. I believe, if I've done my calculations correct, there is still one more Lightning Seeds related smule to go on the channel before Lightning Seeds month concludes at the end of October. So thank you all for watching, be it this or any of my other Lightning Seeds month videos. Wanted to give this band a lot of love and attention this month. Although we've kind of ended on a bit of a downer with their weakest album, I still say, and you can go back through the previous editions of MD Monday for confirmation, that the Lightning Seeds are a very underrated bunch of lads. Special thanks go, as always, to my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. I'm going to go now. Normal service is resumed for Minidisc Monday. We're going from weekly in October back to fortnightly in November, and it's back to the usual method of selecting one of my many mini discs that are here in front of me at random and talking about it, and we'll get through all of my collection eventually. So please will you join me again in 2 weeks time for another edition of Minidisc Monday. Cheers everyone. See ya!